D'Angelo and Angie Stone, two luminous neo-soul spirits who defined an era, succumbed to the very same affliction, and what they uncovered just before their untimely passing left the entire music industry breathless. Medical records vanished, test results were wiped clean, and everyone who touched the truth fell into an absolutely unsettling silence. Something was administered to them, not a remedy, but a clear message from a system desperately unwilling to be exposed. Before you journey with me into the profound darkness behind the secret, please remember to like and subscribe, because what you are about to hear may forever change the way you perceive music. They were so much more than mere artists. D'Angelo and Angie Stone were hailed as the very soul of a generation, two profound individuals who dared to voice essential truths the entire music establishment was desperate to suppress. Yet beneath the stage lights, behind the captivating music that enthralled millions of hearts, lay a profound unseen conflict, one between freedom and control, between the spirit and the system, between the person and the powerful. Their story did not begin with a love song, but with a silent, sacred oath, a vow that no matter the cost, they would never, ever bow down. D'Angelo, a deeply gifted man from Richmond, Virginia, raised on the gospel of the church, flourished between two distinct worlds, one filled with resonant music and another with the profound silence that people of color so often endured. From his early years, he possessed a deeply soulful gaze and a way of touching the keys as if he were desperately fighting to save his very own soul. He then stepped onto the world stage, bringing with him the sheer force of nature known as neo-soul, a genre that utterly confounded the most powerful figures in the industry. Angie Stone entered his life as a perfect resonant reflection, a vocalist with a voice both exquisitely gentle and piercingly sharp. She once declared that music is not meant to pacify but to awaken. They met not at their professional peak, but during the most uncertain days when both were struggling fiercely not to be devoured by the monstrous, relentless entertainment machine. Those who witnessed their bond recounted that their connection was not an ordinary romance. They chose each other like two dedicated warriors on the same essential front line. Rumors persist that Angie once remarked backstage at a 2001 performance, "If they can manipulate our music, they can manipulate our very bodies." At the time, no one grasped the full, unsettling meaning of those words until years later, when the events that befell both of them transformed that statement into a chilling, precise prophecy. Throughout the 2000s, D'Angelo and Angie Stone were shining beacons of uncompromising independence, refusing to be molded by any conventional template. They rejected countless multi-million-dollar contracts simply because, in their view, music stops being music when it only serves the charts. They spoke openly and with conviction about the stringent control exerted by powerful corporations and the insidious ways the industry attempted to pigeonhole the image of Black artists to conform to market standards. A longtime industry producer once confided in a leaked interview. They refused to follow the rules. They weren't afraid to speak the forbidden, and the system simply does not forgive that. D'Angelo's career was a majestic symbol of creative liberty, yet that very freedom made him a deep thorn in the side of the establishment. When Voodoo reached #1 on the Billboard charts, he vanished for a staggering 14 years. No one truly knows what transpired. Some say he suffered a profound breakdown. Others believe he was forced into profound retreat. Angie Stone, meanwhile, stood resiliently on stage, but the lines of profound exhaustion etched on her face grew deeper. They were no longer the public's perfect couple, but two isolated spirits within a machine driven by immense power and unforgiving capital. During those years, both spoke often about the agony in the music, a genuine, raw emotion so intense it would make listeners weep. But few realized that the pain they sang about was not merely artistic expression, it was terrifyingly real. An anonymous member of their crew once divulged that D'Angelo and Angie were subjected to peculiar medical evaluations that they never requested. This individual stated they were compelled to sign consent forms to participate in an artist health monitoring program, but no one knew which organization was truly behind it. From that moment, their lives began an irreversible shift. Performance schedules were drastically cut. Health checkups became eerily frequent, and whispers circulated that a private medical team was constantly shadowing them on tour. Fans initially assumed this was special care. But years later, when both began experiencing identical debilitating health issues, the whole picture became undeniably terrifying. The very music that once saved them had now become a cage. Both felt they were being watched, not a paranoid delusion, but a profound reality. Angie once confided in a close friend, "Someone is observing us." She thought he was just stressed, but then she started feeling it too. Deeply unsettling rumors began to circulate within the neo-soul community. Some suggested they had uncovered a profound secret regarding a link between their management company and a clandestine biological research institute. A singer who once collaborated with D'Angelo recounted. "He came to me saying there was something in his test results he couldn't decipher, a strange symbol, not a conventional medical code. Everything became ambiguous and deeply suspicious. Both retreated into silence, avoiding appearances and interviews. Backstage, conversations were dominated by D'Angelo's bouts of rage throwing papers, declaring, 'Something inside me is terribly wrong.' Yet he continued to sing, to perform, desperately clinging to his musical soul as if stopping meant ceasing to be himself." Angie Stone's reaction was different. She had always been strong, composed, but by 2022, everyone noticed a distinct change in her gaze. She became reserved, evading all questions about her health. During a brief radio interview when asked about D'Angelo, she simply and softly replied, "He is still trying to understand what is truly happening to his body." One person in the studio recounted that after that segment, she sat silently in her car for over an hour without uttering a single word. From this point, a shared pervasive fear emerged between the two people who had once sparked a musical revolution, the fear of those who have discovered too much. They were no longer fighting only with music, but with a profound, pervasive silence, an eerie, heavy quietude. They refused to sign any new contracts, declined all promotional work, and withdrew from all the public health projects they had previously championed. A record label employee once dramatically exclaimed, "They trust no one anymore. They are living as if they are fleeing from something invisible." But this was only the profound beginning. The story did not end there. No one knew what was truly administered to them, or what had begun to silently course through the veins of the two individuals once revered as the soul of black music. The coincidence began as a tiny, almost imperceptible fissure in the immaculate wall they had constructed, a crack just wide enough for those who worked closely beside them to pause, exchange a look, and whisper, "Could it possibly be the same?" No one ever imagined that one day their health, the only thing they still believed was truly their own, would become something controlled, manipulated, and systematically taken away with a strange, chilling legitimacy. D'Angelo and Angie Stone, once standing at music's zenith, now faced an identical darkness, an invisible ailment no medical professional dared to explicitly name. When they both retreated from the stage, the press simply stated, due to health reasons. But behind that seemingly innocuous phrase was a chain of highly irregular events known only to those closest to them. A studio technician who worked with D'Angelo on the Black Messiah album recounted seeing D'Angelo so utterly exhausted he couldn't finish a single recording. He just sat there staring at the piano and told me, "I feel like something inside me doesn't belong to me anymore." Angie Stone experienced the same. Her shows began to be canceled abruptly. She spoke less, smiled less, and whenever asked about her health, she offered a strained smile and replied, "Just routine checkups, nothing to worry about." But according to a close friend, Angie was seemingly pressured into participating in a mandatory artist medical screening program, a program advertised as for public health. Yet something about it felt deeply, profoundly wrong. An anonymous medical staff member present at a checkup in Los Angeles recounted that both D'Angelo and Angie were administered a type of energy-boosting injection, which they had never explicitly consented to. The staff member, voice trembling, said, "I don't know what it was, but but after they left the room, they seemed severely weakened, as if the energy had been utterly drained from their bodies. This unsettling tale spread rapidly through the community, only to be suppressed just as quickly. Anyone who dared to repeat it was warned. Say nothing more if you value your career in the industry. The most terrifying aspect was that they did not fall ill simultaneously, but their symptoms developed along an identical trajectory. Initially, it was fatigue, then severe sleeplessness, followed by significant weight loss, and then pancreatic issues began. Both received the same diagnosis from the same consulting physician, who later became completely unreachable. Their medical records were deemed absolutely confidential. Everything was formally labeled as unspecified bodily reaction. To the casual observer, this sounded routine, but to those who understood, the phrase was a clear mechanism to conceal something far more complex. An old staff member of Angie's recounted her genuine terror after her final treatment. She told me, "I feel like something is fighting itself inside me." I asked if she thought she was infected, and she just shook her head, whispering, "No, I think I'm being tested." At the time, no one believed her. They assumed she was overworked, perhaps obsessed by the conspiracy theories D'Angelo often mentioned. But later, when both exhibited identical symptoms, people were utterly shaken. Their fears had been chillingly justified. D'Angelo, always a man of deep contemplation, began to view everything around him with profound suspicion. He canceled appointments, trusting no physician. A sound engineer recounted that D'Angelo frequently spoke about a foreign compound in his system. He said there was something in his blood that shouldn't be there, that he had seen a strange symbol on his test results, like an experimental code. "I thought he was paranoid," the engineer said, until Angie started saying the exact same thing. From then on, the rumors intensified that both had been injected with a sophisticated compound during their treatment, something designed to affect their cellular structure without leaving an obvious trace. Some believed it was merely a catastrophic coincidence, while others vehemently insisted they were victims of a covert medical initiative cleverly disguised as artist patronage. Naturally, no concrete evidence was ever made public. But the unsettling truth was that after every treatment, they declined rapidly, and when questioned, every doctor offered the same explanation. Their bodies are reacting poorly. They require continued monitoring. This profound congruence of decline unsettled all who were close to them. A member of D'Angelo's band recalled their last rehearsal when he sang "Nothing Even Matters," the track he recorded with Lauryn Hill. But his voice was ragged, his breath broken, and he looked at me and said, "I'm not sure how much longer I'll be able to stand on this stage." At that moment, no one dared to ask for more details. Everyone just fell silent because there was a palpable, immense weight that all felt but could not articulate. Angie Stone was different. She wasn't outwardly volatile or visibly panicked. She was terrified, but her fear was infused with profound resignation. She began to write more fragmented notes in a small journal, all centered on nameless fatigue and pain that does not originate from the body. A close friend revealed that in an unpublished letter, Angie wrote, "I don't know what they have done, but I know I am no longer the same person." The letter was discovered after her passing, tucked away in her dressing table drawer next to an old photograph of herself and a young D'Angelo. During those years, the public only saw rare, disturbing photographs of them, haggard faces, distant gazes. Both remained silent, never speaking out, never uttering a complaint. But that very silence was the most potent signal, because those who truly knew D'Angelo understood that when he fell silent, it meant he was preparing to articulate something far more monumental than music. The inner circle began asking questions, but no one dared to do so publicly, because the more they inquired, the more things disappeared.